Hey, it's Colleen.
Hi, it's Kate.
And it's Megan.
And we're the
Three Scheme Queens. Each Tuesday, we take you on a deep dive into one of our favorite conspiracy theories.
If you have a sense of humor and an open mind, come take this journey with us.
We'll tell you what we think, and we'll try to prove it to you. Is this thing on?
Hey, guys.
Welcome.
Welcome back. It is the Tuesday
Scheme
Queens again today. Colleen is venturing out with the children, trying to find some lost ones.
I get because we're going to talk about lost children.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's on the hunt, actually.
Yeah, she'll be back. We'll all be together next week. The Three Scheme Queens.
Well, yeah.
Maybe
You guys can blame Colleen for this one. Colleen likes to, she's not here to defend herself, so Colleen likes to work a job and then try and do other things that is not her job.
Her friends ask her for favors and she can't say no.
Yeah.
And so we were hassling her that Kate is a mother of two, but for some reason,
With 2 jobs.
Colleen babysitting and dog sitting for people is the harder one to coordinate with.
Yeah.
But we're all gonna be back next week in our new recording studio.
And she won't listen to this, so
she won't know we're talking.
Yeah.
And I find that whenever it's been a couple episodes and we haven't been together, and then we're finally together, it's just pew 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 off the rails. Yeah. Well, unintentionally, we're in like
True crime burr?
True crime burr.
Yeah.
That's better than murder burr. We're like in true crime burr.
Yeah.
So all our conspiracy theories, last week and this week and next week,
No.
are true crimey.
Yeah. So.
Before we get into it, so is it time for our
Drink check.
We have a themed drink that we're kind of undecided about. I think
I want to note that I did not make the face.
she did not make the face.
No. Yeah, I was cognizant of not making the face.
I thought this had all the things you were going to love. This is a West Virginia kiss because we're going to talk about a West Virginia story today.
Yep.
And it has muddled strawberries, which we think is the problem.
Yeah.
Except then if you take out the strawberries, it's just bourbon and maple syrup and a little bit of club soda.
Yeah, sounds great to me. Bourbon soda?
Yeah. I'm like, well, really, if we just subbed oranges in for the strawberry, it'd be like a old fashioned.
Yeah.
It's not bad, but it kind of gives like melted smoothie or something.
Yeah, it's like when you're at an all-inclusive and you swim up to the bar and you're like, hey, can I get a daiquiri? And it's a very pulpy daiquiri. And then you get back to your chair and your kids are like, hey, let's go swimming. And then you go swimming and then you come back to your drink and it's melted, but the pulp is all there with the alcohol. That's what it's like. Try it.
What all-inclusive are you going to where you're getting fresh strawberries in your daiquiris?
Well, that's a great question. I've never actually done that.
I know. I was about to say this. We always joke you can't go to an all-inclusive because she can't just lay by the pool.
It's something with the strawberry.
Well, I've never before thought strawberry and bourbon, that's a good pair.
Right.
Cherry.
Yeah.
Bourbon, We were advised against it, but we did it anyway. We did some Jell-O shots for a party that were black cherry Jell-O and bourbon. And actually,
they were really good. Who told you not to do it again?
Captain Fred.
Oh, Captain Fred.
Captain Fred is the one who taught me, when I was in college, he taught me how to make Jell-O shots.
What a guy.
And everyone used to rave about my Jell-O shots.
Yeah.
And he's the one who's like, you do lime Jell-O and tequila. Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's do black cherry and bourbon. And I think he was skeptical because it's like a dark liquor in a Jell-O shot. But actually, they were pretty good.
It was good.
Yeah. Better than our West Virginia kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that being said,
I'm still drinking it.
Uh-huh.
I did
just
top it off with a little bit more bourbon.
she was like, just give me more bourbon. So she's also over here in her professional pajamas, so
Yeah.
she's gonna just pass on out after this.
Yeah.
Right?
Nothing like a strawberry nightcap.
So today we're gonna talk about the mystery of the Sodder children. Are you familiar with this one?
I'm not.
So on Christmas Eve, 1945.
Oh, another Christmas tragedy.
Yeah.
Jean Benet. Yeah.
I have nothing to say. You're right. It's a bummer. On Christmas Eve, 1945, a fire broke out at the Sodder family home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. George and Jennie Sodder escaped with 4 of their 10 children, but 5 others, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jennie, and Betty, aged 5 to 14, were never seen again.
10 children. Okay. I already have questions, but continue.
The blaze quickly consumed the house, and authorities concluded that the children had perished in the fire.
Oh.
However, no remains were ever recovered, which raised suspicions almost immediately. In the years that followed, numerous oddities deepened the mystery. The Sodders discovered that the house's telephone lines had been cut, and George's trucks, which he intended to use to fight the fire, would not start.
Oh.
Witnesses later claimed to have seen the children alive. These accounts, along with the lack of physical evidence in the ashes, fueled the Sodders' belief that their children had been kidnapped rather than killed. For decades, George and Jennie pursued leads, even putting up a famous billboard along Route 16 with the children's photos, pleading for information. In 1967, the family received a mysterious photo in the mail of a man they believed resembled their missing son, Louis, though the sender was never traced.
Oh my gosh.
Despite their tireless efforts, no conclusive evidence ever surfaced. The case remains officially unresolved, and the fate of the Sodder children is still debated, whether they perished in the fire or were abducted under mysterious circumstances. So what really happened to the 5 children? Authorities at the time concluded the children perished in the blaze. However, critics point out that bone fragments should have survived, and tests at the time showed even animal bones remained intact in similar fires. Conspiracy theories continue to circulate. Many believe the children were taken from the house before or during the fire, which may have been set deliberately as a cover-up, as evidenced by a number of strange discoveries in the aftermath. Some suggest organized crime or human trafficking may have been involved, possibly linked to George Sodder's outspoken criticism of Mussolini and tensions within the Italian-American community.
Whoa.
Some speculate that influential people in Fayetteville may have been involved either directly or indirectly. The family always felt that the fire department and local officials dismissed their concerns too quickly, and the fire chief's claim that the children's bodies had been, quote, cremated beyond recognition, end quote, seems scientifically unlikely. So what do you think?
Well, I'm still stuck on the 10 children part.
I mean, it's 1945.
Yeah, 1945.
Farmland, West Virginia. They got
How did the fire start?
well,
That's what my thought is, how did the fire start? How many children were there? 6 that didn't get out?
well, there were 10 children, but one of them was away in the military.
Okay.
So there were 9 children at home
Uh-huh.
and the 2 parents. The 2 parents and 4 children got out. 5 perished.
5 allegedly perished.
Yes.
And between the ages of 5 and 14.
Yep.
So the older ones.
So
Were
the
the-
ones that survived were the youngest child who stayed in a bedroom with the parents.
Yeah.
She survived, and then the 3 oldest children
Yeah.
survived, and then the rest, who knows?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, yes, I have lots of thoughts. How did the fire start? Telephone line was cut. And yeah,
His
well, this is
his trucks wouldn't start, which had started earlier in the day.
Oh, was his gas all let out from the truck? And then I also have a question about, how long did the fire blaze? Because I feel like that is a reasonable question when you're talking about, are there remains left? So I would like to receive more detail but these are my questions right now.
Well, lucky for you, I think I have answers to all those questions.
Oh my gosh. It's a rarity.
Will those answers?
Not that Megan isn't thorough, just
Usually,
a couple weeks ago she said, "Why do you two always ask the one question that I don't have any information?"
well, because it's also something. It's always something like, well, why was he wearing a blue shirt and not a green shirt?
Yeah.
It's never something that like loops into the story.
It's details.
Yes,
Yeah,
details.
yeah.
And my mind, you and Colleen, your minds think very
We
similarly.
snag.
Mine is not work that way. So, George Sodder immigrated from Italy to the United States in 1908 at the age of 13, at which time his name was Americanized as Sodder.
Oh, okay.
He found work delivering water and supplies to the rail workers in Pennsylvania before relocating to West Virginia, where he worked in the coal mines. While in West Virginia, he met the daughter of an Italian shopkeeper, Jennie Cipriani. The couple wed in 1922 and settled into a 2-story house in the Italian community within Fayetteville, West Virginia. They had 10 children over the next 20 years
Oh my goodness.
and were a well-respected middle-class family.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, George and his sons ran a transport company for railroad supplies and coal. George was very outspoken, though, and openly discussed his political views, including his disdain for Benito Mussolini, the dictator of Italy
Mm-hmm.
and leader of the fascist party. So he did have some local enemies within the Italian.
Oh, community. Well, first of all, very weird, in my opinion, that there's an Italian community in West Virginia.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah. And second of all, this is 45.
Mhm.
So this is like hot off the
Mhm.
coals of World War II.
Mussolini is already dead.
Oh, he's already dead.
At the time of this fire,
Mhm.
Mussolini's been dead for over 6 months.
Yeah. He was. How long did he reign in Italy? I mean, you don't have to answer that question, but I'm assuming that Sodder was probably affected by his reign, or he got out and then saw everything through the American propaganda.
Also, I mean, his family, I think he came over with his brother, but his brother turned around and went right back,
Oh,
which gets into sort of some mob theories. But I think all of his family was still in Italy. He's here by himself.
yeah.
So,
I bet his brother turned around because he like couldn't survive without his mom. You know, those Italian men.
Oh.
They love their mamas. It's a thing.
okay.
Yep.
Kate's Italian.
Yeah.
So, again, December of 1945, the war has just ended, and the family gathers for the Christmas holiday. Their eldest son had just returned from the war. Their second eldest was on his way back. So the entire family is present in the home with the exception of Joe, who again is the second oldest son.
Mm-hmm.
So around 10 p.m. on Christmas Eve night, most of the family had gone to sleep. But Maurice, Martha, Louise, Jenny, and Betty wanted to stay up and play. Their older sister Marion worked at a dime store and had bought them toys, and so they wanted to play with their toys.
Yeah.
Jenny's like, it's Christmas Eve. You guys can stay up. She takes Sylvia upstairs to bed. Sylvia's the youngest.
Yeah.
But she says to Maurice and Louis, you need to put the cows in and feed the chickens before you go to bed,
Okay.
which they do. This is their normal chore.
Yep.
This happened.
Okay.
These 2 boys
We're alive
left the house to go do their chores. Okay?
and came back. Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay.
So at 12:30 on Christmas morning, Jenny was awoken to a phone ringing in her husband's downstairs office. So I will say that as I listened to all this content and watched and read and everything, I was like, is Jenny the only person in this house who wakes up? Because she wakes up 6 times. And then I actually did listen to a podcast with one of her granddaughters.
Mm-hmm.
And her granddaughter was like, she was a notoriously light sleeper. I'm like, okay.
Well, yeah, if you have 10 children, you're never off. I'm sure her brain was wired to be awake for the children. That's a scientific thing with moms. They're women in general are scientifically lighter sleepers. But when you're a mom, that postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, we know now is really an ancestral trait.
Evolutionary trait.
Yeah.
To prevent your baby from being eaten by a bear.
Yeah. Being awake enough and alert enough. But now we're just so safe. We have nowhere for that anxiety to go. So she was a notoriously light sleeper.
So the phone rang in her husband's office
Mm-hmm.
and she went down to answer it. And she said when she picked up the phone, there was maniacal laughter and clinking glasses.
Whoa.
And a female asked to speak with someone by name. Jenny said,
Wrong number.
wrong number, and she hangs
Yeah.
up. If you read a story that's trying to spin this as maybe more sinister, this was a creepy phone call. But other people are like, it was Christmas. It was 12:30 in the morning on Christmas Day. I'm sure there were cocktails being consumed.
Yeah, or this is someone from a bar thinking she's calling.
Well, we do find out who this was, but
Oh.
hold that thought.
Okay.
So then Jennie went back into the living room and she said she saw her daughter, Marion, asleep on the couch alone. I guess she slept on the couch a lot, but the lights were on, the blinds were open, and the door was unlocked.
Oh,
Generally, her sons would lock the doors and close the blinds after those evening chores
right,
of the cows and the chickens.
right.
So she said she was annoyed, but she assumed that the 5 children had gone to bed. And so she locked the door and closed the blinds. She was going to turn the light off, but she left it on because Marion was asleep on the couch. She's like, well, Marion will wake up and she'll need the lights.
Okay.
Also important to note then that the lights were on.
Okay. Important to note that the lights were on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 1945 and lights existed in 1945.
Okay, Colleen.
Lights did exist in 1945. Electricity. Did TVs exist? No. Radios. I feel like everybody sat around the radio and heard about the war.
There were TVs in 1945.
Oh,
They were rare, but production picked up at the end of World War II.
oh, okay.
So there were lights.
Yeah.
There was electricity.
Back in 1876, an old boy named Bell, that's the telephone, invented a contraption that we know so well. You know that song? Why haven't I heard from you? It's a Reba song.
Okay. She goes back to bed. 30 minutes go by. She woke up again to the sound of a heavy object striking the roof
Whoa,
and rolling off.
whoa. Oh, like a torch? Yeah.
Well, a torch, like some kind of incendiary device, some kind of fire starter, maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking torch. Large torch. What if it...
A large torch hit the ceiling and rolled off. Oh, you think they just you're thinking it's like 1800
Yeah.
and they lit the torch.
They have a wood-burning torch.
Okay. At 1:30 then. So then she goes back to sleep.
Okay.
30 minutes go by.
I'm sorry. She heard something loud hit the roof and she didn't wake up her husband and was like, what was that?
She probably did. And her husband was probably like,
Go back to sleep.
also, it's a different time. These wives weren't princesses then, right?
I'd have been like, get your shotgun. Because I know you have one. We're on a farm. And go investigate.
So then 1:30 in the morning, she wakes up to the smell of smoke.
So 12:30,
The phone rings. 1 o'clock, she hears something on the roof.
she hears something on the roof.
1:30, she smells smoke.
Oh, okay.
So she awoke to the smell of smoke and discovered a fire originating from George's office.
Whoa.
She tried to call for help, but the phone wasn't working.
Oh my gosh.
The couple evacuated Sylvia and Marion, but were unable to climb the stairs to get to their other kids. And so this is very confusing
Oh, so they're
on different levels.
on different levels.
And I will say, trying to look at a layout of this house, the sources say different things. So most of my sources say that the parents slept on the main floor.
Uh-huh.
The 4 oldest kids shared a room on the second floor, and the 5 younger kids shared an attic room, which I thought was weird because I think they would do like girls and boys.
Right.
But like Marion was with her
Her brothers?
brothers. Yeah.
Farms.
But then I actually listened to an interview with the daughter of one of the survivors, Sylvia, the youngest daughter, and she said the boys were in one room and the girls in another. And if that's the case, that actually makes this story more confusing to me.
Right, because how did 3 girls and 2 boys end up? Wait, and also wasn't Sylvia like 2?
Well, Sylvia was like 2 or 3, and she slept in her parents' room, and Marion was asleep on the couch.
On the couch. But Marion made it out.
Marion made it out.
Okay.
So again, Marion's on the couch. She made it out. Sylvia sleeps with Jennie and George. She makes it out. John and George Jr., who had been asleep in their second floor room, escaped, claiming that they had been unable to get to their siblings' bedroom in the attic. If the 2 older boys are sharing a room with younger boys, then they would have all gotten out if they got out. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's weird, like the 2 older boys got out, and then they're like, we couldn't get to our
Right. Our younger
siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there were different stories. Because at first they claimed that they went up and they shook their siblings awake.
Uh-huh.
And then later on, the story changed and they were like, oh no, we yelled up the stairs to them. And that becomes important because if they shook their siblings awake, then they saw them.
Right.
Right. Like they couldn't have not been in the house. But at the same time, I think people are like, they probably had regret. Like,
I should
have.
Yeah.
But instead I just yelled at them. And so maybe they just they were embarrassed that they hadn't done what they thought they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
George Sr., he had a barrel of rainwater outside. So he thought, okay, maybe I can douse the fire with that.
Right.
He ran out, but unfortunately, it was frozen. So then it is just like a perfect, like nothing he does works. So he ran around to try to access the attic with a ladder, but the ladder was gone.
The ladder was gone?
So then he thought, I'll move my truck and I will climb into the attic window by sitting on top of my truck. But he's got 2 trucks for his business. Neither one will start. And he and his sons had driven them earlier that day.
Oh my gosh.
So
This is fishy.
suspicious.
What do we think that the person who called was checking the phones to see
If they were home?
if they were home and if the phones were still working?
Oh, maybe.
Mm.
In the meantime, Marion ran to the neighbor's house to call for help. But the neighbor's phone wasn't working. A passerby offered to drive into town to alert the volunteer fire department. And this is where people this is also so fishy, but also this is a different time. And again, it's completely volunteer. So like you gotta phone tree this. It takes a while.
Right.
The fire station, again, 2.5 miles from the house. Okay. So this passerby in his car drives and he notifies Chief Morris. Morris activates the telephone tree to get all of his volunteers in. He said he could
Wait. So a telephone tree, so nobody's sleeping at the fire station right now.
Right, because it's a volunteer, which I do know, like, in some of these small towns, even now, like, my friend told me, like, that in Delaware or whatever, they would, like, ring a bell, and then people are like, oh, I gotta get to the fire station.
Oh my
It's not like
gosh.
it's like a small town volunteer. It's not, I know volunteer now people spend the night, but, like, this is like a small town volunteer situation.
Oh my gosh.
So the chief said he could not find anybody who was certified to drive the fire truck.
What?
Why can the fire chief not drive
Yeah.
fire truck?
Yeah.
That's my
big
question.
Deal. That's a big deal. Yep. Maybe he was drunk.
Yes. Well, that's the theory about maybe people are like, maybe that's why it took so long. It was
Yeah.
Christmas night. People were.
Yeah.
Guess how long it took for the fire department to get the 2.5 miles to this house?
45 minutes.
7 hours.
What?
Mm-hmm.
The house was incinerated by 7 hours. I'm sure of it.
The house was incinerated within 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So by the time they showed up, the house was destroyed. The fire was out. There are investigators who are like, this was not abnormal for the time. It seems to me like, again, I get it taking a long time, but like, even if it takes them an hour to mobilize, like that's a long time. But like 7 hours?
That's like, it is daylight at this point.
Yeah. So then they spent a few hours surveying the scene, but they didn't locate any remains. And so Chief Morris said, the children were probably all cremated and it's Christmas. It's a holiday. So
Right.
we're all going to head out and the fire marshal will come by in a couple of days and they'll do an investigation. So at first the family actually accepted this story. They were like, yes, we lost our 5 children in this fire. But then they started to get a little bit more suspicious because of the lack of remains.
So did the family start looking through the ashes and like look for the remains?
I think it was them and the firefighters. They might have looked a little bit, but actually after 4 days of waiting for a fire marshal who never showed up, the parents said they couldn't look at this destroyed home anymore. So George bulldozed 5 feet of dirt over the site to convert it into a memorial garden. So the house had burned and collapsed into the basement.
Okay.
And so he bulldozed all this dirt to cover it. And he's like, I'm going to make a memorial garden. And so people are like, well, that's weird. Why didn't you wait? But he's like, initially, we weren't really suspicious because is a fire marshal ever going to come out and investigate this? Or are we just going to be staring at this? I mean, their houses, they had to live in like the
barn.
No, they had like a little shack that they would like sell their farm.
Oh, yeah.
From, and they lived in that while they built a new house and stuff. But nonetheless, the state inspector claimed that the fire was caused by faulty wiring, but the wiring had just been checked and approved by the power company. Still, the parents couldn't believe it. The surviving family remember I told you that when she locked the door, she left the lights on for Marion.
Yes.
She went to bed.
Yes.
When she woke up, and the rest of the family who survived agree, when she woke up to the smell of smoke, the lights were still on. So like if this was an electric fire,
then the lights would be off.
A fire would have started and the lights would be off immediately.
Right.
And then the family is like, we're starting to get a little dubious here, right? So Jennie actually, she spoke to a crematorium and they said to cremate a corpse, it requires very high temperatures for a prolonged period of time. Temperatures twice as hot as this fire likely reached, and it usually takes hours, not 45 minutes, like this fire burned for. And they said even then, usually when they remove the body, there's still bone fragments that then they have to manually grind up.
Oh my God.
And so then she was like, well, then these bodies shouldn't have, there should be some sort of evidence
Right.
that these bodies burned.
Why is she the one that's doing this research? Why is there no investigation into this? This is like, listen, I know it's 1945, but come on, guys.
Yeah.
7 hours to get to the scene of a fire when you're not even needed anymore. And now the fire marshal with all of the fires that are happening can't get there.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, so it was Christmas. Well, it's really the day after Christmas, right? Maybe people are hungover or whatever. I'm like, but the 27th, 28th, 29th, are these all holidays still?
I mean,
no one
maybe, I don't know. They're not holidays for us.
They are these days.
Yeah.
These kids don't go to school, you know? We didn't go to school then either. I'm sorry. Like, but for real. And then they did find the ladder in an embankment 75 feet away.
What?
So some people are like, oh, it wasn't that far. It just must have blown over. But I'm like, 75 feet.
Unless there was like an explosion, not blown over, like an explosion that like projected it 75 feet blowing.
Yeah.
That's a long way to blow.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems everything about this is fishy. And I think that something fishy definitely happened here. Do you think the kids did it?
That's one of the theories. Hold on. The telephone company came out to inspect the phone lines and found that because the phones didn't work.
Right.
The phone line was not burned. It was cut. A jury convened and they declared the fire accidental, and death certificates were issued for the 5 children on December 30th. But again, this family was dubious.
Right.
Marion later said, I never smelled burning flesh. They say you can smell burning flesh miles away, but I never did. The family actually did their own experience. They burned animals, but they never observed the carcasses being completely destroyed. So no matter how much they tried, there would still be like some kind of remains.
Oh my gosh. They did their own experiment.
Yeah. They also claim that there were recognizable kitchen appliances and roof pieces that survived. Like there was like rubble, and they're like, how did I don't know what the kitchen appliance in the 1945, how did my
a stove?
I'm like, how did my KitchenAid? Yeah. How did my stove survive?
Right.
But no bones survived.
Right.
So it's possible they were in denial, but the oddities kept on coming. It all started when George hired his first PI, C.C. Tinsley, who uncovered the following. He noted that several months prior, in October, an insurance salesman, Rosser Long, threatened George after they rejected his sales pitch. So Armstead Rosser Long was the president of Rosser Long Insurance, and he tried to sell George insurance, but George declined. And Long said, quote, your GD house is going up in smoke. Your children are going to be destroyed. That feels very specific.
That does feel very specific.
Also, though, like maybe he's like Matt. He's just like, you're going to regret this because you know your house is going to
go up in
flames and you're not going to be insured.
Right.
So was that a threat or was that just like an angry man?
Right.
He also said, you are going to be paid for the dirty remarks you've been making about Mussolini. Interestingly, though, this man, Rosser Long, he was on the coroner's jury, the one that declared the fire accidental. And he was a member of the Fayetteville Rotary Club along with Fiorenzo and Salante Genutolo, which they are other potential suspects.
Oh, okay.
He also looked into Fire Chief F.J. Morris. This is the guy who took 7 hours to mobilize.
Right.
He was a fire chief from 1937 to 1947. So he had been a fire chief for 8 years and he still couldn't drive a fire truck.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Doesn't make sense. So this PI also heard from the local minister that Morris was telling people that he had in fact found remains, including an intact heart, but that he hadn't wanted to upset the family, so he just buried it on the property.
What?
Yeah.
You can't do that. An intact heart?
Yeah.
Lies.
George
heart would go up in flames way faster
than bones.
So
George and the PI convinced him to dig up these remains, and lo and behold, there was a heart.
Whoa, you're shut up. Was it a cow heart? Was it a pig heart? Was it a chicken heart?
You're on the right track. Because then the family takes this to the funeral home, a funeral home director, and the funeral home director is like, that's not a heart, that is beef liver,
Okay.
and it has been untouched by fire.
Oh.
So he just like told this, the theory is like, did he just like tell this lie to shut people up? Like, well, there were remains, and then he got called on it, so he like buried this liver? I don't know. It's weird. It's so weird. So then Morris was like, I'm not helping anymore now that this all happened. So again, the question is like, was he a little sociopath? Trying to stir up drama? Was he trying to bring closure to the parents? Was he trying to block further investigation?
Mm-hmm.
Was he bought and paid for? The oldest son said the fire marshal was either paid off or they didn't push it. It's a way of life in Fayette County. If they want to get rid of you, they get rid of you.
Whoa, I believe that.
There were
believe
also
that.
rumors that this man was on the coroner's jury. Here's the thing. I think this must be, I mean, I think I looked it up. It was like population at this time on the census was like 1,000 or something.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it had to be small because how are all of these people on the 12-person jury?
It's giving very small town.
Fiorenzo Genitolo was an Italian immigrant who had previously employed George at his construction company, and he was the director of the Fayette County National Bank. He co-signed the mortgage, meaning he would have been the recipient of $1,500, which would be $20,000 today, an insurance payout for the loss of the house. So there are rumors that he had political disagreements and that he was irritated that the Sodders had not settled the estate of Jennie's deceased father. So the thought is like he had financial incentive.
Right.
If something happened to the house, he was going to get $20,000.
Yeah.
But $20,000 doesn't feel like a lot. There's no evidence that he actually had any financial issues. They were professional rivals because they now owned competing hauling businesses. But again, apparently he was very well respected and liked in the community. No evidence of financial issues. His cousin was on the coroner's jury. Lonnie Johnson is another suspect. Again, and by suspect, I mean, if you were on our side where you're like, this whole story was fishy and this wasn't just an electrical fire that killed everybody, who would have motive?
Right.
A neighbor reported witnessing a theft from the Sodder yard during the time of the fire, and police tracked down Lonnie Johnson, who admitted to stealing automotive block and tackles, which are tools that were used by George to haul coal. So his version is like, there was a fire, there was chaos, and I took advantage. But also I'm like,
at least he was honest.
These houses seem so far apart that they can't get a fire truck there.
But you can
can just stumble upon a fire and steal something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, he sounds like not a very good neighbor.
He pled guilty. He paid a fine, but he denied any involvement in the fire. He said he had cut the phone line because he was trying to cut the power line. So that would maybe explain why we have a cut in the phone line and not fire. But
why was he trying to cut the power line?
Another source said he claimed that he used the ladder to cut the telephone line so they couldn't report him if he was caught. I don't know, but he was adamant he just stumbled upon this fire and took advantage.
Oh, okay. So he's
I don't know. There's two different stories. That, like as part of this robbery. Also, though, I'm like, if you stumbled upon this fire and there was chaos, why would you need to cut any lines?
If you stumbled upon the fire and there was chaos, wasn't it before then that she tried to?
Yes. As soon as she smelled smoke, she tried to call for help.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't line up.
Yeah. This
fishy.
Story is just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then actually at one point, Jennie made accusations against her brother in Florida, merely based on the fact that witnesses claimed they may have seen a car with Florida plates fleeing the fire, and there were young children in the car. Jennie said, well, I have a brother in Florida. So they went down there, like police went down there, and there was a young Martha, but it was his biologic daughter. He was able to prove that his children were all his children. They weren't like her children living as his children.
Yeah.
And so I don't know about that. And there was no other motive except that I'm not sure if these parents, I'm like, they have some points, but also how much, is there some, like, I don't know. It just seems weird to be like, wait, Florida plates? I know someone in Florida. And then that's
very
they go.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was other interaction preceding the fire. A man had come to the house looking for work, but then seemed to loiter around the house. He pointed to the fuse box and said, that will start a fire someday. But George said, oh, no, I just had someone out the house to inspect the wiring. And he was like, he just thought this guy was crazy. And Jennie remembered seeing the kids coming back from school and seeing a guy parked on the side of the road watching them creepily. But the car drove off after the kids entered the house. So that's what weird. All of these leads are poorly investigated. No new information comes to light. I'm going to kind of tell you about like the sightings now of these kids over the years. In 1947, the couple reached out to the FBI, but J. Edgar Hoover, which we've talked about in this podcast a lot, never positively.
Never.
He said, oh, that's not within the FBI's jurisdiction. They did say they'd be willing to assist if local law enforcement asked for their help, but the fire and the police, they declined the offer. Yeah, the locals who were so understaffed that it took the fire 7 hours to arrive were not interested in any help. So the family put up a billboard off the highway near their home and offered a reward. Initially, it was $5,000. Later, it was $10,000. And it has all their pictures. It's very famous. And it was there until after both of them died.
Wow.
So the reports over the years have started coming in. Someone reported seeing an unknown male lobbing balls of fire onto the roof on the night of the fire. Also, though, if you saw someone lobbing fireballs at the house, why didn't you
just tell someone?
Yeah.
See something, say something,
Yeah. In 1947, George saw a newspaper article with a photo of school children and recognized his daughter, Betty. He drove to, and this is the sad part of this, is that like every time he would get a tip, George would like get in the car and drive cross country to investigate it. So he drove to New York City and demanded to see the student in the photo, but they were like, we're not going to show you her photo, and we're not going to introduce you. We're not going to tell you her name.
Right.
It's private.
Right.
Also, I'm like, I guess it's a fine line, but I'm like, if I drove all that way, I would sit in my car and wait for her to come outside and be like, is that her?
Right.
You have to interact. But I'm
No,
like, you drove all the way to New York City and the teacher was like, no. And you're like, okay. And you turned around.
No, you perform a stakeout.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You would not be good on a stakeout.
No.
You'd be excited. You'd have the snacks. And then 10 minutes in, you'd be like,
this is boring. What's happening there?
Yeah. Can I go for a walk?
Yeah. Yeah. I do always think when I watch the TV shows and they're on a stakeout, I'm like, that is so boring.
In 1952, Ida Crutchfield, a hotel manager in Charleston, West Virginia, came forward to say that 4 children had stayed in the hotel overnight after the fire. She saw photos in the news and thought they looked alike. The children were accompanied by 2 men and 2 women who appeared Italian. She described the children as being friendly, but the men were hostile. She said, like, when she tried to talk to them, they all kind of freaked out. They went to their room and they checked out early in the morning.
Whoa.
But also, I'm like, 4 children?
Yeah, where's the 5th?
Where's the 5th child?
Maybe 1 did die.
Also, why did they wait 5 years? Like, again, these people didn't come forward initially. I don't know.
Right.
In 1967, the family got a letter from Kentucky with a photo of a man in his 20s that looked like Lewis. It was sent to Jennie, and on the back of the photo it said, Lewis Sodder, I love brother Frankie, IL boys, A90132 or 35. So they hired a PI to investigate, but never heard anything. It sounds more like he went off to investigate and never came back, but it sounds more like he was a fraud than like he went off and was murdered or something.
Right. That's kind of creepy. Whatever that.
There is no brother Frankie, but Frank Cipriani was Jennie's brother, whom the couple accused of kidnapping the kids and taking them to Florida to raise. And then there's like another theory about what that message meant, but we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
Hold on. Someone from St. Louis wrote that the oldest daughter, Martha, was in a convent there. George drove there. No results.
Right.
This is creepy now.
Okay.
So several years later, George asked a pathologist from D.C. to come perform an excavation of that garden of the scene.
Right.
This is when they found the only human remains. And what they found was random vertebrae.
What?
So the Smithsonian actually studied this.
Yeah.
They said the human bones consist of 4 lumbar vertebrae belonging to one individual. Since the transverse recesses are fused, the age of this individual at death should have been 16 or 17 years old. The top limit of age should be 22, since the centra, which normally fuse at 23, are still unfused.
Okay.
On this basis, the bones show greater skeletal maturation than one would expect for a 14-year-old boy who was the oldest missing child.
Whoa.
It is strange that no other bones were found in the allegedly careful excavation of the basement of the house. Given the short time of the fire, one would expect to find the full skeletons of the 5 children rather than only 4 vertebrae. So the Smithsonian concluded in their report that most likely these bones
didn't belong to the kids.
Yes. And they were in the dirt
that George used to fill in the basement to create the memorial for his children. So, like, I'm sorry, I don't know where he got this dirt, but he just, like, got some random dirt which happened to have human remains in it and then threw it to fill in this basement.
No, that's crazy.
Yes.
So what else happened?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where did he get the dirt?
Right.
Okay.
Was it planted?
You're asking good question.
Yeah.
All right. So then we'll wrap it up here with our theories. Okay.
Okay.
So what could have happened? Maybe they died in a fire that was totally accidental. Okay.
Right.
So John is the oldest son. He's the only member of his family who thought this was an electrical fire and the kids died and no, just like his parents couldn't move on. He initially claimed, as I mentioned, that he had run upstairs to shake his siblings awake before he fled the fire. And then he later changed the story to, like, no, I yelled up the stairs for them to flee. So,
Right.
as I mentioned, if he saw the kids, then we can assume they definitely died.
Right.
But why didn't he, like, carry one out with him? Or why didn't he? I don't know. Alternatively, did he just have survivor's guilt that he didn't do more, right? Which maybe he could have done more, but like that doesn't mean he doesn't have survivor's guilt about looking back. And
Right.
NPR did a review of the case for the 60th anniversary, and Stacey Horn, who's an NPR reporter, she said that the fire had smoldered all night and they didn't have ample opportunity to search the ash. Even though we're talking about like the fire only lasted 45 minutes, if it all collapsed into the basement and it was just like embers, was it enough to like was it hotter than normal underneath?
And pressure
and was there not really a good search? Like you said, like they were only there for 2 hours and that was it. And then if the family's searching, like
right.
So she said, I think it probably was just a tragedy. It was an electrical fire and the kids died. However, she said, there is enough genuine weirdness about this whole thing that if someday it is learned that the children did not die in the fire, I won't be shocked. The phone call I told you, apparently she did trace who made that phone call, and it was a neighbor, and it was I say misdial, but it was really, it's like connected by a operator. And so they were able to verify, like, this was just a neighbor who was like, no, I tried to call someone else and I got connected to the wrong number.
Right.
But I was with you. I was like, also, wouldn't it be, good to be like, are they home?
Right.
I didn't even think about it as the phone working. Yeah. And then as far as like the car's not starting, I guess the father did one time say, it's possible I was like so panicked that I just flooded the car. Like we didn't have evidence that like, oh, someone drained anything or cut anything.
Right.
So maybe it's like not as suspicious about the truck.
Right.
The ladder was 75 feet away. Again, like they just too frazzled to find it, but also like 75 feet. We already talked about that. That's kind of a long way to go.
Right.
The layout of the house was such that the fire could easily travel up walls. And then when they're like, one of the parents are like, we never heard the kids screaming, which is why they're like, maybe they weren't in the house. But if they had just died of smoke inhalation, carbon monoxide poisoning,
just fallen asleep.
Yeah, it was a very peaceful death, maybe.
Yeah.
Or they said a lot of times young children in a fire get scared, they'll just hide. So did they just like climb under the bed and they hid and they weren't like trying to get out? They were just scared.
Oh, that's so sad.
I prefer to think that if they did die,
they just fell asleep.
They just fell asleep.
Yeah.
The granddaughter said the family stored gasoline drums in the basement. So when that house caved into the basement and the fire did smolder and they covered it with dirt, maybe it was like it's just like they built their own like crematorium, like the oven. It just like built their own oven. But it is weird that crematoriums were like, we have to grind bone.
Right.
No.
And it has to be much hotter.
Yeah.
Like I feel like embers aren't
enough to,
Yeah.
You mentioned a theory. Did the kids start the fire?
Yeah. Why would they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, we haven't heard anything about, like, the kids weren't happy. The parents were crazy. Like, this family dynamic was kind of weird. Like, seems like it was just a healthy family.
Yeah. It seems, I don't know what the motive would be. Now, in 1967, a woman claimed that she was in a bar in eastern Texas, and there were two people who identified themselves as Maurice and Louis Sodder, which would be the two boys who were missing.
Right.
And when I told you that on the back of that picture of Louis, there was like a bunch of numbers. Yeah. So 90132 and 90135 are postal codes in Mexico. And this bar was just over the border in Texas. So was it possible that they were living in Mexico and they didn't come forward? So you'd have to theorize they didn't want to be found. If this was them, they must have fled.
Right.
Right. In fact, George and his son-in-law actually drove. They got this tip and they went and they found these two men. And apparently George thought they looked like his sons, but the two men were like, "We're not your sons." And so he said, I took their word for it, and he came back and then he died. It would be, again,
they spent their whole lives trying to find their kids. That's so sad.
So again, if they like fled and they're living in Mexico and they're in this bar in Texas, now they're denying to their dad that their dad is their dad, then if they really are them, why are they lying about all that? Why did they flee? Unless we have Stockholm syndrome. I don't know. Also, the youngest was 5 years old. So like, I'm trying to picture a 5-year-old running away, or even like, a 10-year-old with a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Like that feels, it'd be more believable if it was like the 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's a theory that the fire could have been started by Mussolini supporters. But I'm not really buying this based on, like, everyone keeps talking about how he was so anti-Mussolini and people in the community didn't agree with him. But like, I just don't understand why people would care that much about what this like one man is saying. He's just like a random middle-class dude living his life. Also, again, Mussolini's already dead.
And also, like, you're in America.
Yeah, I just don't. It's not like he's like. I mean, I hate to compare it to like it's not, and none of it's acceptable. It's not even like he's like a politician or someone who's like out there being out.
Right.
He's just some random dude.
Right. And who has an opinion.
Who has an opinion? I mean, Mussolini's dead, so it really none of it even matters.
Right.
So like, I don't know why anyone would be so enraged. They'd like, they're not even kill him. We're gonna kill his 5 children.
We're just like start a fire.
Okay, we're gonna kill his family of 12. Unless they just wanted to do damage to him and not his.
I mean, maybe it was like they wanted to do damage to his property.
Yeah.
And like the kids were like,
yeah,
they didn't realize it would be that bad. But the thump on the roof, very suspicious.
So the theory that all of the Sodders believe, except for the one son who's like, no, it was just a tragedy.
Yeah.
Is Mafia. So George believes that the Italian Mafia kidnapped his 5 children and set the fire to cover it up. Again, he links this to his criticism of Mussolini, whatever. Or was this like a human trafficking situation?
Right.
So that seems crazy to us, like West Virginia, the Mafia. But apparently, like the Mafia was much more prevalent back then, and this was a big Italian community. So there probably were connections. He worked in transport. So people are like, even if he wasn't Mafia, he probably interacted with people who worked in the Mafia. Nobody really knows why he left Italy or anything about his childhood before coming to America. So some people think that he was like, maybe he was like an errand boy or something for the Mafia back in the day. And then, so one of the theories here is either the Mafia did it and they like kidnapped his children and set the fire to cover it up, or did someone else know that the Mafia was setting the fire and so they helped the children escape, knowing that people would assume they were dead?
Oh.
What if the wrong number was a warning? Were they calling to see if anyone was home, or were they calling to maybe be like, wake up?
Yeah. Yeah.
I told you investigators located the woman who made the call, and she confirmed it had been a wrong number. In the spring, so again, the family used to go back and just like look for things.
Right.
And in the spring, after the snow had melted, their son, the one son who was not present at the time, who was in the military, he was with them. One of the daughters picked up this like, what looked, they said, like an incendiary device. And the son who was in the military was like, oh, that looks like a grenade type situation.
Oh my goodness.
So is that what was thrown at the attic? I mean, I think regardless of the second mystery of like what happened to the kids,
right?
I'm definitely not buying electric fire. I'm thinking somebody set a fire to the
Somebody set a fire.
Yeah. Again, those numbers I told you, 90132 and 90135. 90132 is the zip code for Palermo, the capital of Sicily, and the home base of La Cosa Nostra, the Sicilian Mafia.
Oh. What?
Yeah.
This is wild.
I will say that I don't even know what I believe on this.
Yeah.
But if I believe kidnapping, people are like, how could you get 5 kids out of this house, right? But like, if 2 of them went out to do their chores, they left the house, the door did not get locked like they usually do, where they kidnapped out doing their chores. Now we just have 3 kids. The 3 kids were allegedly playing in the living room and Marion was asleep on the couch.
Right.
Much easier to just like pop it and get them out of the living room as opposed to like going up to the attic and getting these 5 kids.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel like there is opportunity
Lots of opportunity.
I'm not really sure on the motive. We have a means. Anyway, I don't know.
I mean, we also don't know, like, if he pissed off the mob. I mean, the Mafia could do it.
What could he have done
They
to piss off?
probably could have, I don't know.
I mean, it'd have to be a business thing, maybe.
Right, a business thing. Maybe he supplied the mob with cows.
And you think the guy who showed up at the house, who was like, I'm looking for work, and then he just like lingered around, maybe he was working for the Mafia?
Maybe. I mean, I feel like then the mob always has connections, right? The fire chief might have something on.
Yeah, I mean, who could pay off like the police, the fire chief?
Right.
Yeah.
All the people. Could be mob.
Okay, you're convincing me. And then you think the kids did not die? You think the kids?
I have no idea what happened to the kids. I don't know. I don't know if they're still alive. I feel like the mob, do they like take people captive and like?
Well, it would have to be, was there like trafficking in 1945?
I'm sure.
I mean, I guess you have to also wonder, was there, even though he filled in the basement with dirt, again, the pathologist came and did a whole excavation.
Right.
So I'm like, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, maybe the family didn't have very much time to really like look for remains, but I can't believe that not one finger bone was found or something.
Tooth.
Yeah. Teeth, yeah.
Yeah. I just don't think, I think it's fishy. Maybe it was like a twofold thing, like they kidnapped the kids and we're going to kill them anyway. Set fire to their house.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, if the Mafia was setting fire and someone kidnapped them to be a hero, like they knew about it, like we're going to get these kids out.
Yeah.
And then what? The kids just think they have to stay away to protect their parents? I mean, now their parents are dead.
No, I feel like, yeah, if they were alive, they would have re-emerged, right?
So sadly, I
feel like they were killed either in the fire or
after the fire,
away from the fire.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, that seems like, why would you waste energy to kill
people? What if it was two things? What if somebody kidnapped the kids and then somebody set fire to the house?
Or if like the 3 kids were kidnapped and then the 2 boys saw it and they ran away. But again, it's been so long. I feel like
somebody would have come forward. I mean, the youngest, Sylvia, is still alive.
No, Sylvia just died. Sylvia was alive.
She would have been like 80, right?
Yeah, but it was kind of sad because then they taught her so there's a podcast that's her daughter. It was like when the grandparents died, they were like Sylvia, but the dad died first. Mom lived for a while. Once the mom died, the sign came down that had been there. It was there again for decades.
Right.
But that the mom was like, you have to continue the search. And now Sylvia's died, so Sylvia's daughter feels like she has to continue the search. So anyway, I couldn't find any evidence of any DNA searches, but I hope the children, because now they've all died. I hope Sylvia's daughter has uploaded their DNA into a database, into 23andMe or whatever. And so maybe someday we'll get a match from a distant descendant and then we can say, oh my gosh, Lewis went on to have children.
Right.
So Lewis must have survived.
Right. I was thinking that too.
So I didn't see anywhere that happened, but I assume if they're searching so hard, they've done
DNA's got to be.
Hope so. And then I also wanted I couldn't find anywhere. There's this picture of Lewis that the family was like, that's him. But I couldn't find anywhere where they got like a tech guy to do like facial analysis and be like, can this guy in his 20s be the same as this kid as a child? So I want that to happen if it hasn't happened.
I'm sure AI can do it.
But like they can, like when they do these like ear analyses and things.
Yes.
And they're like, this ear couldn't belong to this person, but it definitely belongs to, the ear is like your fingerprint. So can someone compare the ears, please? I don't know.
Your ears like a fingerprint?
Yes, your ears are a big thing they use to identify criminals in photos and stuff. They can use the ear.
Whoa.
It's not a you can see his ears, but it's a front-on picture.
It does look like a similar kid.
Oh no. Okay.
Well, unless they like completely brainwashed the kids. Do you think they were part of Mod Doc?
Well, we're in West Virginia. It's a long windup. Although the one girl was allegedly in a ballet class in New York City.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Anything could be possible.
I mean, 1945, that was, the time of...
Time to disappear.
That was the time of the Edgewood experiments.
Yeah.
And I don't know. You just threw a whole other twist in there that I hadn't thought of. That's getting real conspiracy.
I have no proof of evidence, just vibes.
All right. Well, we're still stumped. Something fishy happened. I guess I'm with you. You've got me leaning more towards mafia mob stuff now.
Yeah.
But again, I'm still like, I want more info on the motive.
I guess George would have come forward and said he had issues with the mob, but maybe not.
This was the theory that George, all of the surviving family except for the one believed, is that it was mafia. That the mafia did this, and they kidnapped the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then brainwashed them. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I guess what I keep being like, why didn't they acknowledge who they were? I mean, you're right. If you get kidnapped when you're 5 years old, it's probably pretty easy to brainwash you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the theory again. I think now we're so far away from this, and they're probably all dead now again, which is why I think our best luck is if one of them had a child. But were they just like threatening the family,
right?
And they were staying away to protect their parents and their other siblings,
right?
All right. Well, you guys let us know what you think, because this is a real mystery.
This is a real mystery.
Guys, just a reminder, don't forget to check out our Facebook and Instagram pages at 3 Scheme Queens. That's the number 3 Scheme Queens, all one word. We're also on Reddit, same username. If you want to check out our website, go to 3schemequeens.com and you can find links to our social media accounts, our Buzzsprout page, all of our episodes, additional content, and our contact page where you can engage with us and share any updates on the topics that we have discussed. Let us know how we're doing and what you want to hear next. There are also opportunities to financially support us with links to buy us a cup of coffee and links to our merch store. As always, if you choose not to financially support us, we appreciate the follows, the downloads, the listens, the likes. Kate, what should the people do?
Yeah, so you should pull out your phone right now and text 3 people that would like to participate in True Crime-tober. True Crime-ber.
Yeah.
Anyone who likes true crime. We've had a crazy string of true crime conspiracies, and I think this one's a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
So you should share it with 3 people, and then you should scroll on down, leave us a 5-star review, leave us a comment, interact with us on our social media, and yeah.
Come back next week for another true crime.
Another true crime
conspiracy. We have a listener request next week, so join us for that.
Yeah.
All right. See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.